Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be discussing a tropical disturbance that has recently formed that could be our next tropical storm, our potential tropical storm. We're going to be watching it here, forming right now just northeast of the Bahamas. So of course, be sure to stay tuned for the whole video. I'm just going to break down the analysis of the storm, what's going on with it, where it could go, and then give like my own little forecast on it towards the end of the video. And of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell notifications. 86% of you guys watching are not subscribed, and only a quarter of you have the notifications on. So I really appreciate it if you subscribed and ring the bell notifications. And we're just going to get right into it here. So starting off here, we have our tropical disturbance. So here is where it is by National Hurricane Center. Now it only has a 10% chance of developing in the next couple of days. Do keep in mind this was like a recent addition to the National Hurricane Center website. You can see the storm placement right here, just again, like I said, northeast of the Bahamas, and it will be trekking to the northeast towards Bermuda over the next couple of days or so. So Bermuda may feel some minor effects from the storm, which will be more discussed throughout the video and even in the end as well. Now, if we read their description of it, you can see in the southwestern Atlantic, a trough of low pressure is producing some showers and storms a few hundred miles to the northeast of the Bahamas. An area of low pressure is expected to form, which you'll see in the model shortly, between Bermuda and Hispaniola, and environmental conditions are not conducive, but we could see some tropical or subtropical development over the next couple of days, again, as it moves to the north and east. So here is the storm on satellite imagery, and we can see this right here on Tropical Tidbits on our satellite imagery. You can see while it doesn't look very organized, there is some rotation, right? We do see some counterclockwise spin, right around 26 degrees north, 69 degrees west or so. That's kind of like the coordinates of where the storm is at right now. Some decent thunderstorm activity to the east of the center, right? Not necessarily to the northeast of the center like what we see with like an organized hurricane. Usually the most intense precip and wind can be on the northeast of the center. But again, still a decent storm with some rotation. I mean, maybe like some decent outflow even as well, right? It's kind of it's trying to breathe a little bit. Environmental conditions aren't the worst, but they're certainly not conducive just yet to get this thing to like fully develop. If we look at it on the visible imagery, all right, you can see again some building thunderstorms a little bit near the center, right? We kind of see this happening kind of near the center there. And again, like I said earlier, those thunderstorms that are kind of off to the east of it. Now, if we look at this on the relative vorticity signature, you can kind of see where it is right about here. Notice how it's not fully circular. It's kind of, the energy is elongated, it's spread out. This is not a good sign. You can see like up here in the central US, right? Like it is spread out, yes, but that's like a frontal system. That's a landmass low pressure system, not like a tropical low like this one's trying to be. So it needs to become kind of circular, right? The energy right now is just, while there is a decent amount there, it's just kind of spread out. So that's going to be like kind of the things that one of the things that kind of hinders the future development of this storm. All right, so here we have the wind shear map, just to kind of give you an idea of how much wind shear is in the environment right now. Now, again, the storm itself, the low pressure system, is sitting right about in this area, right? So in this area in general, wind shear has been decreasing by anywhere from 5 to 10 knots over the last 24 hours. No. However, it's still relatively high. We're talking 40, 50 knots. And like this kind of wind shear would even be enough to almost take a Category 5 hurricane out. It would be enough actually. So this is a disturbance, and the wind shear is going to be one of the things getting in the way. And of course, that's why the energy has been spread out. Now again, that doesn't mean we can't see maybe some subtropical development. Right? And that's something we have to keep an eye out for. And wind shear again has been decreasing, and possibly could continue to. But as of right now, wind shear is definitely one of the things kind of in the way of the system a little bit. And you can see this here with the tropical intensity index. So like this whole path of the storm, right? So the storm is right about here and moving this way or so, right? So again, highly unfavorable in that green region. Right? I mean, it's May, right? Hurricane season hasn't even officially started yet in the Atlantic. So I mean, of course, not everything's going to be, not all the conditions are going to be lined up yet, but maybe some favorable development, right? Now, this doesn't mean, I just want to preface this with, this does not mean a storm will form here. It's just orange, and these orange and red colors just mean that the conditions in these areas are favorable if a storm were to develop there. I didn't want anyone to get that confused with like, oh, there's going to be a storm forming because it says favorable. That's not necessarily true. But if it were to form in this area, it would certainly get very strong. And you can see an area kind of down towards Mexico and Central America. Also has a highly favorable zone. But for the zone of this disturbance, our potential tropical storm here, not necessarily favorable conditions, at least for some significant tropical development. Now, if we look at the steering, why is the storm going in the direction that it is? We can see here we have an upper level. This is in the upper levels. We have an upper level high pressure system right here. All right. And of course, clockwise flow around high pressure, kind of moving it off to this direction, right? So when it's rotating around, so to the northwest of that high, you're having winds come out of the southwest, right? Those steering winds. So again, here's the storm right about here. And it's going to get picked up by the steering currents and kind of dragged off to the north and east and eventually off to the east, right? Steering currents in this situation make kind of perfect sense. There's also another upper level high pressure right here that is also helping to kind of contribute to this flow a little bit as well. So it's got like two high pressure systems, right, in the upper levels, kind of help steer the storm off to the east. All right, if we look at the water temperatures right now, for where the storm is sitting, right, I kind of put these two little hearts here. That's how you like favorite a location. This is from windy.com. You can like favorite a spot. So in this general area is where the storm is right now, 79 degrees sea surface temperatures, which is pretty good. That's certainly enough to form a tropical storm. And even if other conditions were right, these kind of waters can honestly even form a low-end hurricane. But again, 79-degree water is not too bad. But the other conditions, again, the wind shear, the other things will not necessarily line up. But eventually, as it moves to the north and east, kind of in this zone right here, water temperatures in this area are only about 74. Right? And again, it's May. This is typical. But I just wanted to point out that water temperatures will be decreasing from where it is now, which will kind of lessen its chances as it keeps moving further to the north. All right, so let's move on here. And here we go. So here are the NAM 12KM models, the model I chose for this video, because it's one of the, I wanted to use the higher resolution modeling, and the other high resolution models kind of, because they have a certain range extent and it kind of cuts off here so you can't see this part of the ocean. So NAM 12KM is what I chose out here. And you can see as we head through the day today into Saturday, I'll let this loop restart. You can see the storm develops and we start to see some pressure isobars come a little closer together, so more start to form, right? Meaning some slight strengthening, and there is going to be some rainfall that gets dangerously close to Bermuda. And it's not looking like rainfall will be significant there right now, which I'll get to a little bit later. But it is looking like the storm will track pretty close to Bermuda, maybe enough to produce some wind and waves, but maybe not significant rainfall impacts. Those could be more isolated in nature. But do notice, all right, pressure is about 1,012 millibars, and maybe gets down to about 1,008, right about there. Maybe drops to 1,006 millibars. So decreasing pressure, obviously meaning a slightly strengthening low pressure system. And the rainfall is certainly decent. Like to the north of the center, there's this decent rain core, right? So there's certainly not going to be a lack of precipitation. Now, could it be offshore? Possibly, yes. But do know that wherever this end up does go, there will be rainfall in its path, and a good bit of it, whether it ends up being over the ocean or maybe over Bermuda. But again, by Saturday morning, about 8 a.m. Eastern time to like 12 p.m. Eastern time, that's when it's going to be probably at its closest point to Bermuda. If we look here at the cyclonic vorticity signature, you can see some darker reds, right? Some rotation there. So it's trying to get its act together, but it honestly just can't, and then it fades, and the darker colors fade, the storm starts to spread out over Saturday. So honestly, this afternoon and overnight tonight is probably the best chance for this to kind of get its act together one last time. As we know, tropical systems can tend to get their act together more overnight. But this is probably going to be the last chance for this to kind of really, again, later in the day today, for this thing to actually form into a significant disturbance, or like, again, potentially maybe a tropical storm. But it's got a limited development window. Now, if we look at the wind speeds, you can see here it says sustained wind speeds in knots, and you can see some yellows off, like right there off to the west. Honestly, the key is flickering. I don't know why it's doing that. It was not doing that earlier, but you can see again some yellows just to the west and east of the center, and the yellow is this range of the colors would stop flicking, flickering in and out. About 30 to 32 knots, which if you know the thresholds for tropical wind speeds, typically 34 knots is that threshold for tropical storm or subtropical storm status. So it will get awfully close, right? Some yellows, you even saw a little orange flicker there, so maybe getting up towards 36 knots, and that would be tropical storm status, right? So it does, again, the dam is showing it does have the opportunity to strengthen, but that's going to be over the next like 6 to 12 hours today. And then after that, it will probably start to weaken. So if we watch it one last time, move off to the northeast, right? And we see those yellow colors right around now kind of start to fade into some more greens. Winds kind of drop to 20 to 24 knots or like 25 to 30 miles per hour. So here is kind of just made my own little graphic here. So it's like I kind of do like the threat level, just taking a look at what the threat level of the storm might be. Probably about a 2 out of 10, right? Nothing very high, not a huge deal, right? I'm just going to break down real quick as we wrap up the video here, just break down the different components of it. So the winds, again, sustained about 25 to 30 miles an hour, possibly more if it becomes tropical. Wind gusts will be a little over 35 miles per hour. Wave heights for Bermuda, as of the current modeling and storm track, probably about 3 to 4 feet, but should it come closer, you can maybe see these offshore wave heights of 6 to 10 feet maybe come closer to Bermuda. But right now, as it's looking, the wave heights offshore about 6 to 10 feet, as it will gather some strength through the day today. I mean, as we know, any kind of like any ordinary low pressure system, even like, for example, one off the East Coast could even generate wave heights 5, 6, 7 feet. So this one could certainly, potentially create some 6 to 10 foot waves, right? And honestly, if it wasn't for the waves, the threat level would probably be 1 or 0. Right? The waves is kind of making this a little bit more significant here. Rainfall totals for Bermuda, probably about less than 1 inch. Nothing too, scary. Honestly, it's probably gonna be looking like some spotty rain showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two, but looking like some spotty rainfall. So that will kind of lead our totals to be right around less than 1 inch or so. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye.